Well, hey guys, I'm pretty excited today. I've got a good friend of mine, Grant Baldwin. Grant's been a friend of mine for years now. We get to hang out together down at Pinewood Social pretty regularly and have lunches and get caught up on life. And Grant, hey, welcome to Iron Sharpens Iron today.
Man, I appreciate you letting me hang out with you. You are a friend, a mentor, a hero, and so I'm honored to any opportunity I have. There's very few, you live north of town, I live south of town.
Right.
There's not a lot of people I'm willing to drive that far to see, but you are on that short list for sure, my friend.
Well, you're awesome, buddy. I appreciate that. You're very kind. We have a good time keeping up with each other and our families, and we really talk more about life than we do business when we get together. But I want to talk about business a little bit. You're the founder of a great thing called the Speaker Lab. You've been a training company that's helped public speakers literally around the world. You've got your great podcast. You've keynoted at over 1,000 places. You spoke to over 500,000 people in almost all the states. You're in about 47 so far. Yep. You spoke to audiences over 13,000 people. So you've got a lot of experience in the speaking world. So talk to us a little bit about that. Tell us how you even got involved in this arena, and give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, if we go back in time, so in high school, I was really involved in my local church, and my youth pastor had a really big impact on my life, and was a phenomenal speaker. And so for a long time, I was like, that's it. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to be that guy. And so I went to Bible college, and actually in college, I worked for a guy who was a full-time speaker, and got to see a little bit behind the scenes of helping book travel and logistics and helping book gigs, and just kind of get to see like, oh, this is a thing. I didn't necessarily realize that being a speaker was an opportunity. And so after that, worked at a local church as a youth pastor, had a lot of opportunities to speak, really enjoyed it, wanted to do more of it, and just had no idea where to go. And that's where a lot of people that we work with today, I think, kind of find themselves is, you've done some speaking, you enjoy speaking, you feel like you're decent at it, want to do more of it. No clue what to do from there. And so that's exactly the spot I was in. And so I met several speakers who were speaking full time and just stalked them and tried to learn everything I possibly could about finding and booking gigs. And slowly over the next several years, just built our business to the point where I was doing 60 or 70 gigs per year, and absolutely loved it. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun. And then I started having a lot of people asking me, like, Grant, I want to be a speaker. And some of them wanted to do, 50, 60, 70 gigs a year and speak full time. And some would say, I don't want to do that many, but I'd love to do, 5 or 10. And again, I have no clue how to find those gigs. So we started taking some of the systems and resources and tools that we had learned, started teaching it to others, and definitely built some momentum and business with that. So that's the core of what we do today, is we teach people how to find and book gigs. And ultimately, that's what the book is all about.
Grant, there's a lot of men in our audience today that are dabbling in speaking. There's some that are very, very good. They travel nationally and internationally speaking, and it's really a big thing in our audience. People want to learn how to captivate stages even better than they're doing now. What would you say are some of maybe the biggest mistakes that you made early on as a speaker when you got started?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is also just figuring out how much speaking you want to be doing and how speaking ultimately kind of fits into your business, right? And because that also kind of directly determines how much effort you want to be and how much work you're going to be putting into it. So if you would say like, hey, I want to just speak, 2, 3, 4 times a year, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And so I know a lot of people watching or listening, maybe have a full-time job, or you have a full-time business, and you maybe have a young family, and you're like, I can't, it doesn't make sense for me, or practically I don't want to be speaking 50 times a year. That's fine. Like, one of the great things about speaking is there's no right or wrong amount to do it,
Let's talk about that for a second. I'm going to kind of get a little vulnerable and transparent here with you for a second. So years ago, you and I met at Pinewood, and we were talking through, and you realized at that time you were on the road too much. You were like, hey, I'm really gone more than I want to be. What happened there? Tell us about that just a little bit.
Yeah, I think whenever the part of the challenge of speaking is that I remember a speaker friend telling me early on in my career, he said, it is a high paying manual labor job, in that we get paid way too well to stand on stage and run our mouths. And there's also, there's certainly the glamour side. You get to travel, and you get to stand on stage, and you get to, the spotlight's on you, sign autographs and take pictures and standing ovations and yada, yada, yada. But the downside of it, the trade-off is in order to collect that nice check, you have to leave your family. You have to get on a plane. You have to go somewhere. You have to be away. And you and I are both family men. I've asked you all the time. We both have only daughters. And so I ask you all the time, man, like, I got all these girls here. What do I need to do here? What do I need to know? And so I enjoy speaking, but I also don't like the trade-off of having to be gone. And there's certainly some, part of it, I both travel some, but I don't want to be gone all the time where my daughters are like, man, my dad was a great speaker, but I don't know anything about him,
Grant, that's the reason I'm highlighting this. And I want the audience to know what a great man you are. And you've got your priorities in the right place. And that's what I admire about you as a person. And I know that's tough to talk about in front of audiences sometimes, but we all stump our toe. We all make bad decisions. We all make good choices and we rectify those. And that's what you did. You said, hey, I don't want to, offer my wife at the altar of speaking. I want to be able to know her intimately. I want to know my little girls. And we've had countless hours of talks around that very topic. And I want the world to know what a man of integrity you are, that you're willing to put your priorities in the right order. So that's the reason I asked you to share a little bit more about that.
I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. I love, one of the things in fact, I've done some speaking on is the idea that who you are is more important than what you do. Who you are is more important than what you do. Meaning, if you and I are great entrepreneurs, if we make a big difference in a lot of lives, but if we drop the ball as husbands, as fathers, as if we're the shell of a human being, then that's just not worth it. That's not a trade I'm willing to make. So I love being an entrepreneur. You and I geek out on this stuff, and we love helping people and making a big impact. But way more important than anybody watching this or anybody that we get to help or serve is our families, our wives, our daughter. Those people are the most significant people in our world. And so I don't want to compromise on that side.
So how do the guys out there know if they've got a topic that organizations are looking for, or if they've even got something important enough to talk about? How do they discover that?
Yeah, there's definitely an overlap between what you're interested in speaking about and do organizations actually care about that? Because there's some things where you may be like, I'm really, really passionate about, underwater basket weaving. And maybe you are, maybe you're the world's foremost expert on it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that organizations or groups are hiring speakers to talk about that. So a couple quick, practical exercises you can do to figure out, is this a thing that I could talk about? Is one, do a quick Google search of other speakers who are doing something similar to what you want to do. Because if you start searching and you find, hey, there are other speakers that are there doing it, that shows that there's some type of market, that there are organizations and groups that are paying for speakers to come and talk about that topic. If you can't find any, now the approach that some of us think would be like, I can't find any speakers doing this, I'm going to be the first. That's not the approach that you want to take.
Maybe a good reason that no one's out there.
If you can't find anyone, there's a reason for it. So you want to find those existing opportunities that exist and look for speakers that are doing something similar. Another exercise would be to look for the type of events that would be hiring you. So think about okay, I want to speak to this audience on this topic. So who would actually hire you to do that? What's the association, the church, the school, the organization? Who would actually be hiring you? And just do a quick Google search to figure out what are those potential events that may exist on that topic or for that audience. So just doing a couple quick searches and kind of just figuring out what exactly is there in the marketplace will help you kind of get at least a little bit of a sense of, is this a thing, or do I need to kind of pivot my positioning a little bit?
I'm going to take full advantage of our friendship here. Any tips or tactics that you could give our audience that would help them become a better speaker?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One is one of the best things you can do as a speaker is to tell a lot of stories. Humans love stories. So if I were to say right now, all right, Big A, I want to tell you a story. Right now, you're most likely already hooked in. You have no idea where the story, you have no idea where the story is going. Is this going to be funny? Is this going to be sad? Is this going to be inspirational? Is this going to be depressing? I have no clue, but we love stories. So as a speaker, the more stories you can tell, the more the audience is going to connect with that. The other thing I would say is to remember that the audience is on your side. We've all seen a lot of speakers before, and we don't want to sit through a bad presentation. We want you to be good. We want the presentation to be solid. So remember that it's not like this us versus them mentality that the audiences are hoping that you fail. They don't. They want you to be good. And the other thing I would say is that the way that you calm nerves, the way that you feel more confident, is that you really prepare and that you really, really practice. The best speakers in the world, they don't just get up on stage and wing it, and I just kind of wrote down some notes on an index card or a napkin, and I just hope it all magically comes together. It just doesn't work like that. They spend hours and hours and hours practicing, rehearsing, preparing, behind the scenes so that when they get up on stage, it looks like, yeah, they're just talking off the top of their head, but they're not. There's a lot that went on behind the scenes. So the way that you become a better speaker is that you just practice, right? The more reps that you get in, the better you're going to become. And that's no different than any other skill set. So the way that you become a better writer is that you write. The way that you become a better, musician is that you practice. And the way that you become a better speaker is that you speak. So the more that you speak, the better you become and the more comfortable and confident that you'll be.
Now, do you watch yourself? Do you critique yourself? Do you watch video after you've spoken, or have you done that in the past?
I've done some of that in the past. I don't do as much of that now, but it's certainly a good thing, because one of the things that you when you watch a video back, or even you just listen to the audio, there's going to be things that you may be picking up on that you didn't realize. So here's a filler word, or kind of a crutch word that I'm using, or here's something I'm doing with my hands that I didn't even realize I was doing, or my face. Why does my face look like that? You don't realize those things.
Contorted.
Until like you watch it back, you're like, I didn't even realize I was doing that. So it's helpful to watch back in some of those, in some context, to see what works. The other thing I would recommend is, especially if you're someone who's doing a lot of speaking, or doing the same talk on a regular basis, which is a great strategy I would recommend, is each time you speak, the talk gets better because you're getting some of that live feedback from an audience. If you're figuring out what works and what doesn't work, and so you're able to tweak things and modify things. And so whenever you watch it back, you may say, like, maybe there's a story I've told 100 times, but I threw in an extra line that was just kind of a riff off the cuff type of thing, and it worked really well. It resonated. And so I want to make sure that I use that in the future. So I want to make sure that I'm able to make note of that. So yeah, anytime you're able to review your talk, again, via audio or video, it can certainly be a win for you.
We have a mutual friend in Pat Flynn, and I was talking to Pat, and I said, Pat, you just crush it from the stage. He said, well, I practice a lot. And we had this similar discussion, and I said, do you watch yourself? He goes, absolutely, all the time. And he said, Avery, you need to do that as well. So when I did my first interview with John Lee Dumas, I listened to it, first interview I've ever done, and I laid on the floor in our den, and I put my hands over my ears. I said, Robin, please tell me that's not me.
Stop.
Country bumpkin. I said, make it go away quick, And Robin was laughing. I hate to hear myself. Everybody hates to watch themselves. We're the most critical on ourselves. But you're right. If we've got these nervous twitches, or we use a certain word repetitively, and it's difficult. And I would challenge the listeners as well to listen to yourself, to watch yourself, to practice, to put in the reps. Any marketing assets that you recommend that speakers have in place that are readily available?
Yeah, there are two things that any speaker needs in terms of marketing assets. One is going to be a website, and another is going to be a demo video. So website, in this day and age, if you don't have a website, it's hard for people to take you seriously. And so one of the unique things about being a speaker is that you are the product, that you are the brand. So you're not selling some type of company, you're not selling some type of widget or tool or gadget or gizmo. They're ultimately buying you. And so I recommend that actually you use your name as the domain. So I actually had to purchase grantbaldwin.com from another guy named Grant Baldwin.
Oh, wow.
He was a retired guitar teacher in California. In fact, I purchased the domain names for my wife and all three of my daughters. And so I still have those, and I'm going to sell it back to them someday at an exorbitant rate.
But you're not going to sell it to anyone. You're going to be giving it to them is what you'll be doing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But have that website as like your home base that you can send people to. And then on the demo video, think about the demo video like a movie trailer. A movie is basically, they take 90 minutes of a movie, they boil it down to 2 or 3 minutes. And within those 2 or 3 minutes, you have a good idea of who's in it, what's the plot, what's the theme, kind of have a sense of like, what's the movie about. And the point of a movie trailer is to make you want to see more. And that's exactly what you're trying to do with a demo video. Most people who are considering hiring you, event planners or decision makers, they don't need to see the full talk. They just need to see enough there to go like, yeah, this is the guy, this is the gal that we are looking for. They would be a great fit for our event. And maybe at that point, then they'd want to see more or learn a little bit more. But if they're considering, you and 5 other speakers that they're reviewing, they don't have time to watch, 5 hours worth of footage. They're going to watch a couple minutes from each just to kind of get a sense. And that's the same thing is true with a movie trailer. I don't need to see a full movie to know whether or not I'm going to be interested in it.
Sure,
I see a couple minutes, be like, nah, that's not for me. Or I can't wait to see that one. Right. That's all you really need as a demo video. But those are the things that you really need for marketing assets to get the ball rolling and get gigs.
A lot of guys just starting and they want to get their name out there. So what is your thoughts on speaking for free?
Yeah, I think speaking for free can sometimes have a bad rap because you assume like, well, if you speak for free, like you're not, either you're not taking it seriously or people aren't taking you seriously. And so my caveat would be, I think it's okay to speak for free as long as you know why you're doing it. So as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you are in the for-profit business, right? You're providing value, and so you want to receive value for that. If all you do is you speak for free just because, out of the goodness of your heart, just because you like people and you like speaking, that's a great way to run out of business, right? So in the same way that if you're like, man, I love baking cupcakes, and so I love helping people. I love people smile whenever they eat my cupcake, and I just give away all my cupcakes. I can't make cupcakes anymore because I don't have any money. So if you're going to speak for free, again, it's okay as long as you know why you're doing it. So for example, one of the things we touched on earlier is how do you get better as a speaker? You speak. So maybe you speak at some local stuff just to get practice, just to get some reps. Another reason would be if you have some type of product or service. Let's say you do coaching or consulting or masterminds, or you have a book or something, and you speak and people are like, that was awesome. I want to work with you in this offstage capacity. And so you may generate revenue that way. Maybe for you, you just want to travel. Maybe there's an event that you want to attend. Maybe you want to network with other speakers. So there's a lot of reasons why maybe it makes sense to speak for free. Now, as a general rule, long term, you probably can't speak for free all the time, but it's okay in doses, again, as long as you're clear on why you're doing it.
I speak a little bit in travel, not a lot, nowhere even close to what you do, but oftentimes I find it hard to get in touch with the decision makers, the person that really decides. How do you do that?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways you can go about doing this, because let's say that you start looking for potential events, you find some potential events, and you're trying to figure out who's in charge at this point. Like, who do I need to talk to? And so if you're on, let's say, a website and for an event, you can usually kind of make your best guess, whether that's, it says like, here's the executive director, or here's the, the president, or here's the event planner or the event coordinator. And so you may start by just contacting them. An email works really, really well for this. In fact, in the book, we give, here's some email scripts, and here's how exactly what you can be, reaching out to that person with. Ideally, if possible, maybe you have some type of connection with not necessarily that event planner, but maybe the event itself. So maybe you had a friend, a colleague, a buddy who has spoke at it in the past, and they can say, hey, here's who you need to talk to. Here's the person that's the decision maker. And maybe they can make some type of personal introduction, which is even better. So the other thing you can do is, let's say that you reach out, or you find an event that you're interested in, and you're not entirely sure if this is the decision maker. You don't have any introduction there. You can also email them and say, hey, I just came across your event. I'd love to learn a little bit more about it. I was curious if you are the person that's in charge of hiring speakers. And maybe they're like, yep, that's me. You found them. Or they may say, nope, actually, you need to be talking to John over here. Cool. And now you at least know where to go. The mistake that a lot of speakers make, though, is that we have our website, we have our video, and we just kind of sit back and we wait for the phone to ring, right? Like, that doesn't work. You have to get the ball rolling. You have to start building some of that momentum. And so I think about a lot of the conferences that I've spoke at isn't because I just sat back and was like, man, I hope they think of me. I hope they find me. It's because I've asked. I said, hey, I know that you have a conference coming up. I know that you're looking for speakers. Here's why I think I could be a good fit. Have some type of dialogue with them about that. Because I know at that point, I'm providing a solution to a problem that they already have. They're looking for speakers. I don't have to convince them to hire a speaker. They're already planning on hiring a speaker. I'm just showing them why I'm a good fit for their event.
That's cool. I meant to ask you earlier when we were talking about speaking for free. People ask me all the time, how do you know how much to charge to speak? How do you answer that question?
Yeah, there's the horrible answer is it depends, because there's a lot of variables that go into that. And I'll give you the shortcut answer, and then I'll give you kind of the big picture. We actually put together a free calculator, speaking fee calculator that your audience can use. You can go to myspeakerfee.com, myspeakerfee.com. It's totally free. You just answer a couple questions about a specific event, and it tells you what you should charge for that event. So the variables that go into that is like the industry. You can charge more in some industries versus others. You can charge more speaking to corporations versus churches. You can charge more speaking to colleges versus elementary schools. So your industry, your experience level is going to be a factor. So if you're a brand new speaker, you're just getting started, it's typically going to be harder to charge as much as someone who's been doing this for a long time, who's just a better speaker. Another factor is going to be your marketing materials. So we talked about your website, your demo video earlier. So if you are, let's say, a $5,000 or $10,000 speaker, And an event is looking at other $5,000, $10,000 speakers, and they're comparing things. Like, your marketing materials better look sharp, So if you're charging $10,000, then your website, your video, your other marketing materials need to look on par with other $10,000 speakers. So again, a lot of variables and factors that go into it. Again, the shortcut though is go to that myspeakerfee.com and answer a couple questions, and I'll tell you what you should be charging.
Well, when you speak, it's not just about the stage. How can these speakers be building up their brand or their message even beyond the stage? What are some suggestions that they could do?
Yeah, so for a lot of people, they're interested in speaking, but speaking is just kind of one avenue that they may be interested in terms of helping people and making a difference, and also growing their business from a financial perspective. And so for a lot of people who are saying, okay, I'm interested in speaking, but I'm probably also interested in writing a book or doing a mastermind or coaching or consulting or doing a course or doing a podcast or doing a blog or doing all the things. And so it's easy to get pulled in all these different directions, that I want to do all the things. And so I would say, like, you can do all the things, but you just can't do them all at once. Something's going to come first and something's going to come last. And so if you try to chase all these things at the same time, you're going to be mediocre at best at all of them. So figure out where speaking fits into it, right? So when I talk with people who have books, for example, I always ask them, are you an author who happens to speak, or are you a speaker who happens to write? Because once you're clear on that, then it also kind of like changes the positioning of what you do within your business, right? So you can speak and you can do other things, but just understand and recognize, like, how does speaking fit into the mix there, so that you're not trying to do all these things, but you're mediocre at all of them.
Grant, you've got a new book coming out, The Successful Speaker. Tell us a little bit about that, when it's going to be launching, and then how can folks get in contact with you, and how can they get your book?
Yeah, the book is called The Successful Speaker, 5 Steps for Booking Gigs, Getting Paid, and Building Your Platform. Worked on it with Jeff Goins, a mutual friend of ours, and really, really excited about the book. The book is out February 18th. In fact, we have a lot of pre-order bonuses now that people can pick up. If you order the book, we'll send you the audio book for free. You can get all that by going over to thespeakerlab.com/book, thespeakerlab.com/book, and all the resources and tools are there. We also have the Speaker Lab podcast, which you've been a guest on multiple times. So I would definitely encourage people to check that out as well.
Grant Baldwin, thanks for being with us today, buddy. We sure enjoyed it. And guys, if you get an opportunity, be sure and take advantage of these pre-order bonuses that he's giving away. I know that the Audible version will be amazing because my friend Grant Baldwin did it. Thanks a lot, Grant. I appreciate having you on today.
Thanks, Big A.
We'll see you, buddy.